Over the last 10 years, I've investigated some of the darkest subjects in some of the most dangerous parts of the world. Now it's time to take a hard look at what's really going on in my own country, a country I love.
One of the biggest problems we face as a nation today is our growing addiction to alcohol.
One person dies in this country every hour because of alcohol abuse. Alcohol costs the economy £21 billion a year.
The thing about alcohol is once it's took everything, it always comes back for you.
More and more of us are drinking too much, and the consequences can be fatal.
There were 4 of us on that ward, and 2 of them didn't make it.
Drinking to excess has become commonplace in every level of society.
Experts believe we are sleepwalking into an alcohol epidemic.
With drink getting cheaper and becoming more available by the year, I want to find out what we're doing to stop this epidemic and its cost to the nation's health.
Like millions of Britons, I enjoy a drink. And I probably lied to my doctor about my weekly unit intake. But I think there's a lot of confusion out there about alcohol. On one hand, you have the anti-alcohol lobby for telling doomsday scenarios. And on the other hand, you have the billion-pound drinks industry telling us that everything's fine. I want to find out the truth, sift the fact from the fiction.
I'm heading to Sunderland in the northeast of England. According to the Office for National Statistics, this region suffers one of the highest levels of drink-related deaths in the country.
The North East Ambulance Service responds to an alcohol-related issue every 17 minutes. And this region has more alcohol-related admissions to hospital than anywhere else in the country. I'm about to spend the night and the morning with the emergency services here.
Philip Blance has been a paramedic for 10 years and has seen a massive increase in alcohol-related calls.
They'll get tanked up on vodka and all the cheap shots. You know, all these Coca-Cola shots and things that you get from the cheap supermarkets, and then they'll start hitting the town for the nightclubs.
We're only a few minutes into the shift when we get our first call.
We've just had a call from the contact centre for a male found lying in the middle of the road, query intoxicated.
Right. It's now 1:05. Sit, mate.
Yeah.
The casualty has been found unconscious by the police.
Give me a hand there, yeah?
What have you been up to today, though, mate?
We don't always do, just get drunk, wake up, get drunk, wake up, get drunk, wake up.
Do you have pain in your chest now?
Yeah, as long as, yeah.
Well, let's get you on. Let's do a few checks.
Right.
Can I just pop some stickers on your chest just to do an ECG, yeah? Do you drink on a daily basis? How much would you say?
About 4 or 5 bottles.
A day?
Yeah.
Right.
Big ones. That's nice. That's so very nice, isn't it?
70% of people who end up in hospital at night at the weekend are there because of alcohol.
Just to give you a little bit more strength, mate.
It is associated with good times, isn't it? You know, it's something you have at Christmas, it's something you have on your birthday. You know, it's something you crack open when you win something. But it also has another side, and that other side is very damaging.
As well as disorder on the street, the ambulance service now regularly has to deal with the aftermath of heavy drinking in the home. Our next call is to a domestic incident.
Okay, just one at a time, just for a minute, I'll pop in.
So in the building over there is an alcoholic around 40 years old. But you look how many cars are here. There's a paramedic vehicle there, police car, a police van, an ambulance and another paramedic vehicle. All of those vehicles and the people inside them have been directed here. I think they're coming out now, actually. Here we go.
It's not just the cost to the NHS. It's also the police who have to deal with the violent behaviour heavy drinking can lead to.
Sit yourself down. You sat down.
Back at the Royal Sunderland Hospital A&E department, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and casualties are still coming in.
We've just heard on the radio that a guy's been admitted to A&E. He has a severe head wound and he's drunk.
Nationwide, alcohol is the biggest cause of death in 16 to 24-year-old men.
Hiya, mate.
Hello, please.
You all right, mate? Not all right, are you?
Ross Kemp.
How are you? All right?
Where's he come from?
Nice to see you, man. What have you done to yourself?
I haven't got a clue.
Really?
I haven't got a slightest idea.
And have you been drinking today?
One or two.
One or two?
Pint.
So do you know what time of day it is now?
Oh, mate.
That's filling up that.
It's just blood running down from your head.
I just keep going deaf.
Will be. If you lean your head over this way, it'll drain onto the bandage instead of into your ear. Do you think you've been in a fight tonight?
Well, it wasn't a fight, he clapped us with a hammer.
We need to get you for a scan, because if you've been hit by a hammer, then there's a chance that you've got an injury to your skull.
Can't tell.
Consequently, an injury to your brain. Okay?
Can I have another fag first?
No.
Dr. Kate Lambert has run the A&E department here for the last 12 years.
Give me some typical examples of what's going to come through that door in terms of alcohol-related injuries.
They'll break down into several groups. So there'll be a self-harm group and a mental health group that have got intoxicated and then felt depressed, cut themselves or taken tablets. That'll be one group. There'll be a group that have been out and either fallen over or been assaulted, and they'll have facial injuries, head injuries, maybe got limb injuries as well. And then there'll just be the people that are so drunk that they can't manage themselves and they get picked up in the street and get brought in.
Yeah, fucking cold, man.
There's an example I would suggest. He's drunk.
Yeah, he is drunk.
Yeah,
He's swearing.
And he's got smash on his face, yeah?
Yeah. But it's non-specific swearing,
Here we go, look, here we go. Here he comes for us. But that's look, it's now taking 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 of your staff to calm him down.
The frustrating thing is it's such a waste of human potential, isn't it? He's got so many people who are just dead or injured just on a whim or just a freak of nature or being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But to get yourself deliberately pissed and make yourself vulnerable, I think it's just such a waste, isn't it?
24/7, no problem.
Down the corridor, another drunk patient has been abusing the hospital staff.
Fuck off, piss off.
Oh, settle down, man.
Why? I've been run over by a car, man. I need medical help.
They need you to calm down before...
At weekends, many A&E departments like this one now need a permanent police presence.
Oh dear, please.
I can't help thinking these police officers would be better used elsewhere.
I'm going to get you some beer, honey.
Just so the drunks that come in here, just to give the staff a little bit of abuse. And they don't need it, they're trying to do the job. The main thing is, settle him down. Try to keep him quiet. If he kicks off ears, we stay with him. And that will impact our resources.
Yeah, because you've got to stay here
5, 6, 7 hours,
yeah. It's now 4:20 in the morning, and they're saying that it hasn't been a particularly busy night so far. Well, I have to say, for me, it has definitely underlined the fact that alcohol is a massive drain on the system, on the police, on the ambulance service, on the national health as a whole, and, it's also destroying lives.
Historically, the British have bought their alcohol in pubs like this one, where the amounts were measured in pints and gills, and there was a landlord there to tell you when you'd had too much. More recently, the British are buying cheaper alcohol from supermarkets and off licences, and they're drinking behind closed doors, where the measures are as big as you like, and there's no one to call time. I wonder if it's the rapid rise in drinking at home that's creating the biggest threat to the nation's health. Colin Shevels is Director of Balance, which campaigns in the North East for tighter laws on alcohol and better information about the harm that it does.
Can you tell me the kind of illnesses that alcohol causes?
Alcohol is linked, it causes 60 different medical conditions. That would include increased risk of heart disease, increased risk of strokes, increased risk of liver disease. That's the one that people recognise. It's linked to depression and dementia. It's linked to cancers. In fact, 7 different types of cancer.
Surely we have to hold a big mirror up to ourselves and say, look, we're killing ourselves. We're doing it very slowly, but we're killing ourselves.
Yeah, if you look at the kind of people that were ending up in hospital in years gone by, there were 60, 70-year-olds, 50-year-olds maybe. Our physicians now tell us we're seeing people in their 40s, 30s and even 20s. In the North East, in about the last 9 or 10 years, we've seen, you know, something like a 300% increase in hospital admissions amongst 30-year-olds for alcohol-related liver disease. That, you know, this is a time bomb that's waiting to go off if we're not careful.
In a way, do you think that there are people, say, in the middle classes that are conning themselves into thinking that they're drinking less because they drink a bottle of wine that costs £8, £10, they see the guy who's living rough on the street who's drinking, you know, cider from a bottle, and they think, well, he's really harming himself, but I'm absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think we are deluding ourselves. You know, many of the people who end up in hospital because of their drinking are not people who are homeless or on the street or drinking cheap white cider. They're also people who are drinking at home regularly, who, you know, have 1 glass, then maybe 2, have half a bottle. Oh, well, I might as well finish it off. We'll come in from a hard day at work and think, oh, I know, I'll pick a beer out of the fridge, or I'll have a quick glass of wine, and before long that changes to 1 or 2. It changes to every night of the week, and that builds up. You know, it's very difficult to stick within the limits if you're drinking every night of the week.
Some people may think that Colin is a scaremonger, and maybe he is. But if he is right about the liver disease, the heart disease and the cancer, then we're storing up a massive health problem for future generations. Rich or poor, alcohol abuse can affect anyone. In fact, the middle classes in this country are drinking more now than they've ever done before, and a lot of that drinking happens behind closed doors. But whatever your social status, alcohol is highly addictive and can take away everything you hold dear. I'm on my way to meet a man who lost his job, his house, and almost his life due to drink. Until recently, Jonathan Burke was a high-flying businessman who worked around the world for large financial organisations. Like many in his profession, work often involved social drinking and antisocial hours.
You could be in the office starting work at 11 at night, dealing with the Philippines, Asian Development Bank at 3 o'clock in the morning, no one the wiser that you're actually enjoying a nice claret.
It was wine was your drink, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so how many bottles of wine could you get through in a day?
3 or 4, easily, without a doubt.
Put my hands up, I love a glass of wine as well, I do. Well, sometimes more than a glass, like a lot of people out there. But you got to the stage where you were drinking in the morning, is that right?
Yeah, most definitely. Every morning.
Did you think, oh my God, as I'm having that glass of Chablis in the morning, that you had become an alcoholic?
At the time, I knew this is wrong. But I thought, you know what? Well, I don't really care if it is wrong, because it's given me that little bit of salvation or that little bit of happiness that I'm enjoying. And to hell with the begrudgers if they feel otherwise. Well, do I particularly care? No. And will I continue the day like this? And more than likely, yeah.
Do you think, Jonathan, there is an element of glamour attached. You know, it's hard play, it's hard drinking, we're all mates together, and that's what we do, you know?
Very much so. I mean, that was the culture. Work hard all week, tear it up on a rugby pitch on a Saturday, and then tear it up in the bar, and then kind of find out from everyone on the Sunday what actually happened the previous night before. Everyone was nearly in cahoots.
So there was this unspoken culture of drinking, but it was accepted.
Yeah, you can see this whole atmosphere of, it's all fine, it's all acceptable, but when you wake up and suddenly it's all gone, and you have literally nothing, it's a huge wake-up call.
At what point did you begin to realise, Jonathan, that you had a problem with alcohol?
When I went into the Royal Free myself, and they said, do you realise you've got about 15 litres of fluid around your waist that we have to now drain because your liver is no longer functioning? And then when the professors came around and various consultants, they said very clearly, if you continue, Mr. Burke, you won't see your 43rd, most definitely not your 44th. And there were 4 of us on the board.
They told you that you, at 41 years old, on no uncertain terms, you will not live longer than 3 to 4 years?
Maximum. And there were 4 of us on that ward, and 2 of them didn't make it.
Really? Jonathan lost everything because of his drinking. He now lives in a hostel for recovering alcoholics. Today, wealthy middle-aged people are actually far more likely to drink to excess than their less successful peers. As Brits, many of us celebrate our drinking. We'll laugh at the drunken antics of a friend. We'll openly discuss our hangovers after a heavy night. But I think there's a lot of confusion out there as to how much is too much. Well, this is the new recommended limit for men and for women. 14 units. And those 14 units should be spread out over the week, and there should be regular drink-free days within inside that week. The government are now saying that there is no safe level of alcohol that we should consume. However, if we drink more than this on a regular weekly basis, we run the risk of heart disease, liver disease, cancer, and other illnesses that will ultimately shorten our lives. And it's not just men. According to the World Health Organization, more than half the women in Britain drink too much. One of these women has agreed to talk to me on the condition that we hide her identity. On the surface, the woman I'm about to meet has a pretty good life. She has a good job, a nice family, and she lives in a nice house. But she also has a secret. Like many women in this country, she's drinking too much. Joan is a nurse and a mother who decided to go into rehab when her social drinking escalated and became a daily habit. Are you aware at that point, you know, when you're drinking during the day and you say drinking half a bottle of vodka, that you might have had a problem with alcohol?
No, because I was around other people that were doing the same. The problem was I didn't know how to live without drinking. It is a drug. It's an addictive, dangerous drug.
Are you drinking now?
No, I'm trying to abstain, but I'm finding it difficult because there's certain people that I haven't told that I'm trying to abstain, and I'm not strong enough to stand up for myself and say, I don't drink anymore, because I'm frightened of losing the friends that I have got.
Alcohol is an intrinsic part of that relationship.
Yeah. And I don't have, you know, it sounds a bit sad, and I don't have many friends. It's a bit of a crossroads. What do you do? Do you stop hanging around with them people? But then again, then what are you going to do?
When was the last time that you had a drink?
Actually, yesterday. It was a social event. I first of all said that I'd have a Coke, and then the last drink, they got me an alcoholic drink, and let my arm be twisted.
Would you call yourself an alcoholic?
I really don't know. I really don't know. I can't answer that because where's the definite line of... I would think...
Why are you going into rehab tomorrow?
I would think there's certainly dependency.
Do you think a lot of us kid ourselves about the fact that, you know, because we're not rolling around drunk, you know, on a Saturday night or living rough on the streets from can of cider to can of cider, that we haven't got a problem, that we're not alcoholics?
Definitely. The only difference is the likes of you and I are in our homes. We're not in the street. I think there's definitely denial. I think I still have denial because when you asked me, are you an alcoholic? I really don't know. Maybe in rehab I will find the answer to that. But also it's really a frightening thought to say to myself, you can never drink again. I find that really a daunting thought.
Yeah, I have to admire Joan for talking to us and the fact that she's got herself into rehab, but she still couldn't really come to terms with whether she was an alcoholic or not. And I think that's down to the stigma and the shame attached to that loaded word, alcoholic. And unfortunately, that shame and stigma is stopping a lot of people, preventing them from getting help and possibly saving their lives.
In 2014, over 1 million people ended up in hospital with alcohol-related problems. The cost to the taxpayer was £3.5 billion. I want to find out what the NHS is doing to tackle this alcohol epidemic. I've come to Manchester to visit a groundbreaking new detox clinic, the Chapman Barker unit.
Julie?
Yep, hi Ross.
Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you. Welcome to CBU.
Well, thank you for allowing us in.
Julie Hughes is team leader.
It's an office, hub of activity.
So what happens in here then, Julie?
Everything. Everything happens in here. So this is where doctors will be, where the nursing staff are, support workers, patients know to come here for anything they need.
Swing your legs in.
Many alcoholics find themselves coming back to hospital time and time again with drink-related conditions. This clinic aims to break that expensive cycle by dealing with the root cause of their problems.
Can you just put your own foot there for a second?
It offers them up to a fortnight of detox with medication and therapy to get them through the worst of the withdrawal and try to help them kick the habit.
One thing I'm beginning to realise, and I never realised before, is just how addictive alcohol is. Just what a hold it has on people. And I socially drink, and maybe I drink too much as well, but, I mean, I've never realised just the grip.
Well, it's changed. It's certainly changed my opinion and a lot of people. I mean, my background was more to do with the drug unit, and we merged the drug and the alcohol unit, so my background was in drugs, and I hadn't really thought about alcohol that much until we merged units quite a while ago. There isn't one part of your body it doesn't affect, not one part, and it's frightening. Right. And we see it all here. Professional people, had jobs, policemen, dentists, you name it, we get here. Some life experience that you've not coped with, stress at work. How many people come up, oh, I'm stressed, I'll have a glass of wine. And it's just got hold of them through whatever reason. Maybe retired. What do I do? What do I do? Got a good pension, I've got, you know, nice bit of money. Grief.
So age as well, any age?
Anything. So you'll get people who are on death's door that if you don't do something now, you're really, really seriously poorly.
You know what I mean? She accepts.
One patient who's just finished a 2-week detox is Darren. He was a psychiatric nurse when his social drinking started to get out of control.
How much were you drinking, Darren?
15 litres of white cider.
15 litres?
Yes, 15 litres. Near enough every day. Well, every day, yeah. I died twice on the operating theatre. I was stomach burst a good few years ago. Well, a lot of years ago. Yeah, I should have quit then, but I just carried on.
So even though you died twice, your stomach burst, you still carried on drinking?
Yeah, I thought I was invincible. If you don't do me the first time or the second time, I can carry on. So I did.
So how bad was the withdrawal?
The first 3 days was horrendous. Horrendous, like snakes crawling over my body, the sweats. I could wring the sheets out and fill a pool. Yeah. It was that bad. Dreams were just horrible dreams about everything and anything. You know, and I was waking up thinking they was real.
Do you think that you can eradicate 21 years of heavy drinking in 14 days?
No. Once I walk out them doors, that's when my journey starts. I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm only 41 and I don't want to end up with my wife burying me because I know it is killing me. My doctor told me I won't make 46. 15 litres a day, not a chance. This illness will be with me for the rest of my life. I'll never be able to duck and dive it. It's there, it's done. I'll just learn to live with it. You know, I can never drink again. The thing about alcohol is once it's took everything, it always comes back for you. Always.
Good luck, mate. Good luck on that.
I want to find out what makes drink take such a hold on people. The unit's psychiatrist, Dr. Chris Daly, has been studying alcohol dependency for 20 years.
Can you tell me why alcohol is so addictive?
Well, alcohol's addictive because of its chemical effects on the brain. So, for instance, when an individual's drinking alcohol, it suppresses things like stress and anxiety and those sorts of things. When the person continues to drink more and more, the body and the brain adapt to it. So the brain becomes used to higher and higher doses of the alcohol and actually needs more of the alcohol to get those same effects.
So when you go into a detox,
yeah,
what effectively is happening?
As you grow more and more with the alcohol and drink more and more, the brain actually changes, the number of receptors in the brain changes, and it means that the body now needs alcohol. If you think about it, if you've got a drug that causes the brain to be depressed, to suppress the brain reacts to that by increasing the activity. When you take the suppressant away, you've got a hyperactive brain. And that's what you see when you're going through withdrawals, and can be very, very severe. So you can get withdrawal seizures where people have full-blown epileptic fits when they're coming off alcohol.
So how powerful a drug is alcohol?
Hugely. This is why people have to understand the risks associated with drinking. And even though it's legal, it can be as dangerous or more dangerous than some of the drugs we class as illegal.
Well, Class A drugs, for instance?
Yeah. Can be as dangerous as those in terms of health outcomes, yeah.
Like using Class A drugs, drinking doesn't only risk damage to your health. Rita came to the unit a week ago and is leaving today after a long battle with alcohol dependency.
Rita.
Yes, hi.
How are you?
I'm fine, very well, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
You're just about to leave, aren't you?
Yes, today, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Apprehensive. I didn't expect to be here. Been here 1 week. I had a bad fall through drink. Split my head, hadn't realised I'd done it. Got to my mum's, she took me to the hospital, had a big gash, there was blood everywhere.
So you were a binge drinker?
Binge drinker, yeah. Some years ago, there was depression, which I self-medicated with alcohol, and that did become a real big problem. Drinking, it does make you secretive, it does make you lie.
Did you secretly drink then? Did you hide it?
Yeah, because you feel that you're going to be judged. You feel
Is
that
that
you're going to be...
because of the stigma that's attached
yeah,
to it?
and historical events that have happened. But once I opened a bottle of wine, I couldn't just have that one. I'd have to carry on. And that was the problem. That's when I realised that it is getting a problem.
So what's different this time?
This time, it's what I want to do. Alcohol is destroying me. It's not for me. It's stopping me from doing things. It's stopping me from getting on with my life. It has to go.
Many people come back 4 or 5 times before they're ready to break their habit. But an independent report says that setting up more clinics like this one could save the NHS £27 million a year. If you're brave enough to go to your GP and admit to having a drink problem, then you'll probably be put on medication and offered bi-weekly counselling. Unfortunately, that system only has about a 5% success rate. What has a far higher success rate is long-term residential rehab. I'm on my way to Oxfordshire, to a place claiming to have an 87% success rate with recovering alcoholics. The Lee Community is a charity offering 6 months of residential care. Once completed, its patients are resettled in a new environment and given a fresh start. A strict regime of sobriety is celebrated every morning.
How long, Jonathan? 27 and 3. I had quite a bad day yesterday. Yeah, it just made me aware that I need to basically have people around me that can notice straight away when I'm in that kind of bad headspace. I'm just dead thoughtful around about trying to identify where my weaknesses are and also making sure I've got the right people around me and that are going to help me get out of it.
The Lee takes people from different backgrounds and from all over the country. Ben has been here for 3 months. Before this, he was an alcoholic who was in and out of trouble with the law.
How did you get here?
I came here from prison, so I was released on licence, with terms of my licence to come to this rehab by my probation. When I got here, I sort of thought this is a cult. I honestly thought this is madness, absolutely crazy. I thought you'd have to be crazy to stay here. But the staff say to you, do you want to sort your life out? Trust us, do you know what I mean? It's been open 44 years. It might seem a bit mad to you. Just have faith in us. And then as week by week, should I say day by day, it starts to get a little bit easier. All these things that are here, they're put in place for the sole purpose so I can live my life day to day, happy, without the need or purpose of taking drink or drugs, for example.
This kind of residential rehabilitation doesn't come cheap. But I want to know if it's cost effective. Chief Executive Wendy Dawson has worked in the addiction field for 30 years.
Financially, we did a study a couple of years ago and we worked out from 10 people that were in the community that they'd cost the state over £1 million pre-coming to the Lee. So the cost to the healthcare, the cost to the prison system, the cost to society, to environment, to communities is massive.
With such an enormous impact on society, I want to find out just what we're doing to warn people of the dangers of alcohol. Unlike any other food or drink, alcohol doesn't have to have the contents on the label. It doesn't even have to have a health warning. Some believe this has to change. I've come to Southampton General Hospital to meet a leading campaigner for better information about the dangers of alcohol, liver specialist Professor Nick Sharon.
Do you think that we're misinformed in terms of the warnings that are on the side of the bottles and the cans that we buy in supermarkets and in shops?
Well, the drinks industry has a conflict of interest. Their job is to sell more alcohol, to increase their profitability and to increase the value to their shareholders. And if they get a chance not to tell you certain aspects of problems that alcohol causes, then they will take that chance. So, for example, most people would know about the links between alcohol and liver disease. Not as many people know about the links between alcohol and cancer, and yet alcohol causes 10% of cancer in men and about 4% of cancer in women. So, I mean, the drinks industry use very, very similar strategies to the tobacco industry. You know, they're trying to prevent the government from introducing effective regulation which will damage their business, which is exactly what the tobacco industry did for years.
Do you think we'll ever get to a stage where you will see cirrhotic liver on the side of a can of beer?
Yes, I think there's a strong possibility of that. A strong possibility of that. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, though.
What can we do to rebalance ourselves in terms of the amount that we drink?
There are really three things. The first is, I think people have a basic human right to more information. The second, I think you have to look at things which change the behaviour of young people, and I think we need to stop them being exposed to alcohol marketing to the extent that they are now. And the third thing is a readjustment in price and taxation to make alcohol less affordable. That's the most important.
Since the 1980s, partly because of cuts in tax, alcohol has got 60% cheaper in real terms. Some believe low prices, especially of strong lagers and ciders, could be making the problem worse.
Can you show me the kind of stuff that...
They probably go for the strongest one. They can get the cheapest one and the strongest one.
Right.
So they will go for something like that, as long as it's cheap and strong.
So that's
or any strong can they'll go for.
So 8.5. 8.5 imported extra strong.
That's 9%.
And that's 9%?
Yeah.
Please drink responsibly.
Yeah, that's the good seller as well.
Sorry, mate.
There you go. That's my good customer.
Is you a good customer?
Yeah. You are.
Can you just tell us what that is, man?
Cider, Pulse.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah, man, it's cheap, 150.
How strong is it?
7.5.
7.5?
Good customer, man.
You are. Good
Spend loads in here with them, me.
Rob.
I noticed you've got grape juice up here, non-alcoholic grape juice. How long has that been on the shelf?
I think it's been there for a year now.
A year?
Yeah. It's not moving at all.
You won't be restocking that, but you will be. You'll be restocking these ones.
Getting all line, yeah. But I'm not going to get that back in again.
We've just seen a stream of young men go into the shop behind me and buy extra strong alcohol. When you consider just how cheap it is, in fact, it's cheaper than some of the water that's on sale inside this shop. Is it any wonder that we have such a problem with alcohol in this country? Outside the shop, there's a group of young men drinking. Liver disease in the under 30s is going up because people are starting to drink younger. Steve began drinking when he was 14. Now 21, he regularly drinks 10 cans of strong lager a day. Steve now attends a local drop-in centre. The Moses Project is a Christian organisation that supports people with drug and alcohol problems.
I'm actually trying to get into rehab.
How difficult is that?
Well, it is hard, yeah. Where I'm living.
Because you're surrounded by people drinking, people taking drugs.
Yeah.
Jordan, 22, also started drinking when he was young and is struggling to quit.
Don't get me wrong, like, up until 16-year-old, up until like about 7 weeks ago, I was doing everything and anything to get me drugs and me drink, yeah. Theft, shoplifting, burglary, rap, do you know what I mean? Anything, yeah.
Can I ask you a personal question? Did people around you when you were growing up, did they drink?
Yeah, my family, my mum, my brothers, all of them, yeah. There's 8 of us, and out of 8 of us, only 2 of them are normal, like teetotal.
I mean, for all the ups and all the highs that alcohol gives you...
Oh, well, it's point out, right?
Yeah, there's some pretty bad parts about it, yeah.
Overdoses, try to kill myself, self-harming.
Really?
Stuff like that, you know what I mean? All down there.
What's the lowest you've been, Steve?
Just homeless, really. Homeless. Sat on my own, drinking. Yeah. Bandit house.
Drink to oblivion?
Yeah. Wake up, don't even know where I am.
I mean, you know, you're both really young. You've got a lot of your life ahead of you. What do you want to do with your life, Steve?
Don't know.
You don't know?
No. Honestly, I don't.
We're just outside the Moses Project. I have to say I'm impressed by the people that work on it, but totally disheartened by some of the stories that I've heard. If the only outlook a 21-year-old has is opening a can of beer at 8 o'clock in the morning and doing that for the rest of the day, and that is to get himself normal, then, you know, what future does that boy have unless he gets into rehab? And placing him in a situation where he's surrounded by other alcoholics is
is clearly not the way to go if you want to get him straight.
It seems to me the cheap price of strong drink is making it far too easy for people like Steve and Jordan to carry on drinking. Some campaigners argue that there should be a minimum price that they have to charge per unit to prevent so many people damaging themselves on ultra-cheap booze. In 2013, the government looked at this option, but in the end they rejected it, saying there was not enough concrete evidence that it would reduce harm. According to some, that was a big mistake. I've come to meet Doctor and Conservative MP Sarah Wollaston, who chairs the Select Health Committee.
Sarah, not only as a politician but also as a GP, do you have any idea why we're drinking so much?
Because it's so cheap, and of course alcohol is addictive and we like it. But we know the lesson of history is that whenever you make it so cheap and you're able to get alcohol at around sort of 20 pence a unit, then people start to run into problems. So we need to restore a balance that it's a price that doesn't actually start to cause the very serious harms that we see.
This government and previous governments have been on course to implement minimum unit pricing, and they've done a U-turn at the last moment. Why is that?
I think it's the power of the lobbying industry. The power of the
drinks
lobbying
industry.
Yes, that actually tried to put out a message to say that this was going to hit somebody on a low income who just wanted to maybe have one drink at the weekend. But we know that's not the case. We know that actually for people who are moderate drinkers, this has a negligible effect on them. It's trying to tackle the ultra cheap alcohol, the white ciders and so forth. That's the thing that's really driving the problem.
Do you think we might look back on the drinks industry like we look back on the cigarette industry in 30 or 40 years' time?
I think so, but we'll look back on the way that they were allowed to get away with it and the power, the immense lobbying power that they have, which I think is something that we need to challenge.
The Portman Group, set up by the UK's leading alcohol producers, runs a voluntary code of drink labelling and advertising. The industry also funds the Drink Aware website to promote responsible drinking. They claim this system of self-regulation is effective.
There's little doubt that alcohol today is stronger, cheaper and more available than it's ever been before. And while we have no idea how much it truly costs us as a society, we do know that it costs us more financially than it raises in taxes. Alcohol, for many of us living in Britain, is a part of our everyday social interaction. It's there when our children are born, when we get married, and sadly, when we die. And while no one is holding a gun to our heads or a bottle to our lips, we are drinking more now than we have ever done before. I can't help thinking that if there was minimum unit pricing, if we were made more aware of the harm that alcohol does to us, and we were maybe a little more honest with ourselves, then we'd all drink a little less and live a little longer.
And if you've been affected by any of the issues in this programme, please go to sky.com/viewer support.